up, and then I'll let you talk about yourself a little bit or what you do.
Right. Well, my name is Alyssa Moore, and I teach sixth grade literacy or humanities this year since we're combined. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far.
Good. Even though we are still in the pandemic. You're at your
Yes.
house and I'm at my house. But it's been a pretty good year even with all of that.
Yeah, it hasn't been bad. I missed going to the library over the summer because that was like a big part of what I do with my kiddo we go every week. So it was kind of hard not being able to go, but we still got a lot of reading done. So that was nice.
Yeah. We also go to the library because I love how they have like Lego robotics and just the little programs that they do or the reading competitions. And then you could go and me too. So tell us a little bit about your life and the books that have impacted your life, and you can skip whatever you want, of course. And
Yeah, no worries. So I grew up in a really small town in Kansas. And there's I don't know, it's a farm town, so like you're outside all the time. But being a small town, there's not a lot of opportunities for I don't know, just not a lot of opportunities that you get in like a city or something along those lines. Like the nearest Walmart was probably like 35 miles. So it was quite a drive to have to go just to Walmart. Um, but I will say one of the nicest things that small town ever did was one day we were brought into the gym and they had this like big black bubble and we all went inside and it was super dark, couldn't see anything, you could just like feel people's knees like touching your knees, and then they turned it on and all you see is stars, right? It's like all the constellations are there and it was super awesome. And then they start telling us that these constellations, sorry, my cat is getting in the trash. Can't. There we go. Right, so they're telling us that all these constellations have these stories. Right, so we learned about Hercules, and we learned about the Big Dipper, and not only like Greek mythology behind the Big Dipper, but like Native American mythology behind the Big Dipper. And so just like learning that all these images that we're seeing tell stories, and I thought that was something really cool, and it's stuck with me. And I think it's why I really like the stars today, like
how
because
old
they're
are
just
you?
stories in the sky. And so but I didn't really enjoy reading as a kid. Like I liked some picture books, like Where the Wild Things Are was a story I still really enjoy. But for me, reading wasn't something that you did for fun. It was something you did for school.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, books in my house were decorative. They were like pictures that Ansel Adams took of landscapes. So like they weren't really for reading.
Right.
And it wasn't until college when I actually really started finding pleasure in reading for just the sake of reading.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so thankful for that time because, I was stuck between classes with like a 3-hour gap. And the nice thing about living so far away is that you're kind of forced to like hang out in the library or go to the cafeteria and find somewhere to be. So when I was done with my homework, I would just go look at the shelves and pick up books. And I finally found one that really spoke to me, and that was Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. And it was the first book I ever read where I was sad that it ended because I wanted it to keep going. Mm-hmm. And that kind of just propelled me into finding books that I really enjoyed. And chaos. Chill, man. Sorry, he's having a moment right now.
I'm in his spot. Had his cat. We can do books and cats.
Gosh. But yeah, and I enjoyed some books in high school. Like that's when I started reading like Chuck Palahniuk and an author called his name is Christopher Moore, and he writes really funny stories.
Okay.
He's got one called Sacre Blue, and it's all about the paint color blue.
Okay.
And come by. But it's just an interesting take on that story. But so I liked some authors, but it just never really stuck with me because reading was something you did for school, for a grade, and so it took a while for me to finally get into that groove of learning that books are something you can do for fun.
Yeah.
I
like that. I think a lot of people probably are the same, and I think it's really good for teenagers to hear that too. How old were you when you did the constellation thing?
I was Yeah, we moved in first grade, so it was probably like beginning of first grade, maybe kindergarten when
Wow.
we did that. And yeah, I was just so blown away by like one that like these stars took shape, and that two they were images of stories, right? So it was like an image, and it told this whole story behind like whatever it was. So like learning about Perseus, the Gorgon Slayer, and um, like seeing the bull that Hercules is like shooting his arrow at. So it's just kind of seeing the sky as like its own storyboard. And yeah, that opened up a lot of different ideas and things that I was into at a young age. And so, yeah, always grateful for that one, for
Yeah,
small
that's
towns to pull
cool.
that off.
Yeah. How old were you when you moved to Colorado?
I was 9. So we
Okay.
moved here we moved to Fort Collins when I was 9. And I've been there ever since. Well, LaPorte technically, but still
Right.
Fort Collins.
Yeah, that's still Fort Collins. And then you went to UNC for all of your college career?
So I went to Front Range first, so
Okay.
community college first,
Yeah.
which was good because I got denied for financial aid because my dad made too much, but I was also working full time, and so I was able to take like 3 classes or so.
Yeah.
So like I was in college for a long time. I changed my major, I think, 3 times before I finally picked something, where I ended up with English education. Um, but I think all of that was like really good because it helped me really focus on what it is I want to be doing.
Yeah. What were your other majors?
So I wanted to be an art teacher first.
Okay.
But college really killed my joy of creating art.
I have heard that it's very intense and there's so much history. It's right? Like you learn a lot of the history, which makes sense. But
You
that's
do.
not what people think about when they're like, "Oh, I want to teach art."
Yes. Yeah. So you do learn a lot about the history, which for me was interesting to see like these artists work and the movements within and how like one art movement was a response to another art. But I think what killed it for me was that it was everything I did in high school. So I wasn't
Oh,
learning anything new.
okay.
They were like, yeah, you have to go back and do the basics. It's like, well, I've done that. I've been doing that. Like, show me something new to do. And like, it just wasn't there.
Okay.
So then I tried, yeah. So then I switched to an elementary art major, or no, elementary major.
Okay.
So I was going to teach elementary for a bit. And then I started making English lesson plans. And I was like, oh, these are really fun. I'm really enjoying these. And that was right around the time when I started to find a love for reading. And
Mhm.
so, like, it just clicked. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this instead. So,
Okay. But you always wanted to be a teacher. All three of those
yeah,
are
just wanted to be a teacher. Like, knew I wanted to be a teacher. I enjoyed school. I always had good relationships with my teachers. And so, like, I knew that that's where I belonged. I just wasn't sure, like, what I needed to be doing.
okay. Okay. Does Chaos want to say hi? Does he want
Ah,
you to give him
Cody, he's
attention?
really grumpy. He's so grumpy. Can you say hi
How old is
instead of like biting my arm?
How old is Chaos now?
Chaos is 8, so he's
Okay.
an old guy.
Yeah.
And we got him just before Talon was born. Huh? You happy now? Can I put you down, and not get bit? That'd be nice.
Maybe.
He'll think about it. Like I said,
So-
I'm in his spot. He likes to hang out in the ottoman area and sitting, so
Yeah.
he's upset I'm in his spot.
How dare you? So you had Talon. What do you like to read to Talon?
I like to read everything to Talon. So I can show you some of the ones we have. So we started off, I think, with him pretty young reading Harry Potter, even though like he had no idea what we were talking about.
Yeah.
But we made sure that reading was something that was a big part of his routine. So his nighttime routine.
Yeah.
Even if he didn't know what we were reading about. So we
Right.
read a lot of Norse mythology and Harry Potter because that's what we had on hand. And then once we could start taking him to the library, we were allowing him to pick out a bunch of picture books. And so we would just read the picture books, which if you haven't read, I can't remember what his name is, but it's like, I can't find my hat. This is not my hat.
Yeah, I only know about this because of you, and they're so good. I don't remember
so
what
good.
it is either.
Yeah, and weird and quirky and like just a fantastic picture book.
Yeah.
And he really liked those. BJ Novak from The Office.
Yeah.
He wrote a book called A Book with No Pictures.
So popular at my house.
Yes, and yeah, he really loved that. And so it was just picture books for a while, and then with like having to do like schoolwork, so reading a bunch of books for the English major, I started making it so we would read picture books with him, and then I would open up a chapter book and just read. And so he falls asleep anytime I read a chapter book. But now we're getting into chapter books that he actually enjoys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's slowly becoming harder for him to fall asleep because he's trying really hard to listen to the story.
Right.
So we just finished the third Harry Potter book, which he really enjoyed.
Awesome.
This one is Night Books.
I've seen that, but I've never read that one.
Yes, this one is awesome. It's about a boy named Alex, and he gets kidnapped by a witch. So it's kind of like a modern day Hansel and Gretel.
Oh, cool.
And they're turning this into, I'm not sure if it's going to be a movie or a series, but it'll be on Netflix.
Okay.
So yeah, this one, and I got this too this year with the books that I got for the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So this was one of them.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to talk about books.
Let's see. We also like this one, so Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow.
Ooh.
It's very Harry Potter-esque, right? It's about a young girl, and she believes she's cursed because on, I think it's their 11th birthday, on the night of their 11th birthday, these kids are meant to die. It's kind of gruesome. But she ends up getting bid upon to go to this school, and then so she ends up going to this magical place, and she's just trying to figure out what her power is, and so it's kind of interesting to see that. And then this is actually a trilogy, I believe.
Okay.
So there's more to this story.
The Morrigan is a Celtic god or Norse god?
Yes.
Celtic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Celtic.
So that runs through that series, like.
Sort of. I think it's just her name is Morrigan.
Okay.
She does have a dark side to her, which is like the Celtic Morrigan god, goddess. Does tend to be more of a dark goddess.
Yeah.
So, and we've only read this one. I haven't read the rest of the series yet, but hoping to see how it kind of plays out.
Okay. You always.
And then we also have this book too. So this is called Nightmares.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know I've talked to this one about with you before.
Yeah.
But this one's really good, and they also have a sequel to this one too that I need to go check out. So.
Okay. Yeah, you are always such a good source for books. Like always. Picture books. I loved the one we were talking about, and then the spicy dragons only eat tacos or whatever.
Yeah, dragons love tacos.
That one was
such
so
a good book.
And then I went over winter break and I got this one and flew through it. And I have this one.
Perfect. Yes.
A Deadly Education. Is this one like a young adult one?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's young adult. But yeah, I don't know. It's such an interesting take on a story. So
have you
read
this one yet?
Do what?
Have you read this one yet?
I haven't read it yet. I started the first chapter yesterday.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they're at a school, right? So that's why I thought, this is maybe like a young adult magic school. Definitely all the things I like.
Right. Yeah. And there's another one too. So I think her name's Lee. So Lee Bordeaux. So this is kind of the same idea. It takes place I want to say they're at Yale or Harvard. I can't remember. Okay. But they're studying like demons and stuff. So kind of the same idea where there's this sense of occult and witchcraft, and she wrote the Grisha series, so like Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm.
Yeah, I read those.
So that's this author. So this one's really good too.
Okay, cool. So we were talking about Talon, and then we got off topic. So does he like reading now? He loves it.
So he gets kind of frustrated because it's like you have to read a chapter, but it used to be like, okay, well, you read 2 chapters, I'll read 2, and we took turns. But the way that our nighttime routine works now is he has to read a chapter to me, and then he's allowed to read the book however he feels fit. So we've read Dogman, I don't know how many times now. But so he'll read me a chapter, and then he'll read it his own way. So over Christmas, he got, it's called Comic Cat or Comic Kid, but it's Dogman's sidekick who makes like a comic club. And so, yeah, he's been reading that one recently. He really enjoys it.
Yeah, my son got that too for Christmas. He really liked it.
That's a good one. It's funny.
It is funny. They are funny. I don't mind them, but I do want my kiddos to read a little bit harder books. And Ryder's getting there a little bit. And then Madison is now obsessed with Wings of Fire.
Ooh, there you go. That's a good one.
So what are you reading right now? Well, we kind of got into it a little bit. But...
Yeah, no worries. I can show you. So maybe I can get this over here.
Oh, okay. Yes. Bookshelf tour.
Here. So I think it's down here. I did just finish this one, The Cruel Prince by Holly Black.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. It's fantasy. It's got fairies in it, and there's like royalty, right? Oh, cool. And it was really good. There was one predictable character and like plot piece to it, but other than that, I thought it was a great story. Okay. And this is also a trilogy, right? So always more to read. Mm-hmm. And then one I'm currently going to be looking at is this one. So this is called Cinder, and it's by Marissa Meyer. And it's
does that have a new cover?
Yeah, so it's a brand new cover.
But it's an older book, right?
It is an older book, yes.
This is the robot-ish.
Yeah. Okay, so, like a kind of mechanical Cinderella.
Yep.
Which is actually funny that you bring up the cover, because when I first saw it, I didn't want to read it. Even though it has all the, like, things that I enjoy, like fantasy, it's a fairy tale, it has all those things. But the cover reminded me so much of the Twilight books that I wasn't interested. And so I said no, cover. And then recently they've redone them. Yeah. I was like, oh, this cover looks way cool. I'm now going to read this. So
yeah, this one is much neater. That's dumb. Because it's showing more of the character and the fact that she is, I don't want to say she's from China, because I don't think that's the land, but she's like an Asian character, which you don't see very often. And you're right, the other old cover was just like a glass slipper with red, very Twilight.
So like she's wearing the shoe and you can kind of see the mechanical bits in her foot, but like it was just like, well, that looks like the Twilight with the apple, and I am not a fan of Twilight, so I was like, no, it's not for me. Okay. And then they redid all of the covers, and I was like, okay, that looks great.
Oh.
And then I know I told you that I like to pick covers that are very similar.
Mm-hmm. Oh no.
So when I was looking, I decided to get covers that have pink on them.
Okay.
Right. So Cinder was one. The Ravens was another one. It's got slight bits of pink. But this is a newer book, and it's like a sorority of witches.
Okay. Yes, I want to read that too.
Sorry, my cat is like on my back right now. And then the Black Flamingo.
Yeah, that's on my wish list. I really want to read that one.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, I don't know. I just get in these habits where I go to the bookstore with like a list of books that I want, and then end up being like, oh, well, here's a book with a raven on it, so now I'm going to go find like 3 other books that have ravens on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. That's fun though.
Yeah. Well, then it's nice because I get introduced to like different genres, and I'm not stuck in like, because I know if I went and I just picked books, I would just pick fantasy, because that's what I enjoy reading. I think it's easy to read. But I do enjoy things like mysteries and horror and thrillers. Yeah. But I don't tend to go for those unless like I'm not thinking about it, I guess.
Yeah. Can you read all 3 of those books? Like, do you read a chapter here and there, or do you like to finish one and then start another?
So I used to be like, I would start a book, I would read it from cover to cover. Even if I didn't like it, I would still finish it. And then, that was probably like the greatest single wisdom that I was ever told, was that you didn't have to finish a book you didn't like.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't. And then like, you were actually a big push, because you're like, yeah, I'm reading like 6 different books right now. And at first I was like, how can you do that? That's so many to try to keep track of. But then it made sense, because I was like, well, I can read a bit of this, and then I can go read this. And then I started like audiobooks the last couple of years have been a big help in getting books read, especially with like trying to manage time. And I've always had to drive far away. And
that's
so
what I was thinking.
in college, that's when I started listening to the audiobooks, which is like hit or miss for like classics, because if you don't get someone who's reading it well, it's really hard to follow along.
Yeah.
I always really liked Frankenstein until I heard it as an audiobook. It was just so dramatic. And then when I actually read it without the audiobook, I was like, okay, yeah, no, I do like this
Much
book.
better. Yeah. I don't listen to a lot of classics either for the same reason. It makes me too sleepy.
Yeah.
There's a couple, I think like Rosamund Pike or something does some of the Jane Austen ones, and she's pretty good. But yeah.
Like some of them are good, but it's just, I don't know. For those ones, it's hit or miss. So.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Good or not.
Yeah. So I don't think I know anybody who wins as many books as you seem to win for your classroom.
Yes.
And then you're also so good on Instagram of posting different books, different authors, contests that are going. I love it so much. But how do you find all that stuff?
So I'm not really sure. I think it started because of the National Council of Teachers of English.
Yeah.
So NCTE, it's just like an organization that you can pay to be a membership of for English teachers. But a lot of that stemmed from I had to sign up for it in college. And it was such a great resource. And they give out free books like it's nothing. There's like, hey, like here's a giveaway, sign up and maybe you'll win 5 books, which happened. And that was great, right? And then I'm just always looking for recommendations. So I had a professor at UNC who was fantastic about talking about different books. And I always made sure to write them down as quick as I could. And so he taught, like I took a modernism class with him and a diaspora class and then a Latino book class. And it was great because he knew that we were teachers. And so he would cater to our needs of needing books to teach kids. And so, let's see, I think they're up here. So this was one that we had to read in his class. And this is a great young adult novel. So Julia Alvarez, and then that's where I also found books by Erica Lopez, who is maybe not so kid-friendly, but a fantastic writer.
Yeah.
But actually she's no longer writing anymore.
Yeah.
And so her books are like treasure. So like this book, it's like huge, right? And this is like a memoir sort of. So her first book was called Flaming Iguanas. And it's about, like, she takes this road trip and she makes her one-woman biker gang and just kind of travels the world. And it's really interesting. And then in this one, she got so caught up in that persona that she tries to cut it off. She doesn't want to be that person anymore. So it's her kind of working through her feelings about who she is.
Oh, wow.
But since she's not writing anymore, and her books aren't being published, so I lucked out and got this for maybe $10.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, it's a hard book to come by. So I was really excited to get my hands on that one.
Yeah, how fun. That other one that you held up, we have in the library, and I was reading a little bit about it in the fall when I was putting together a little class thing.
Yeah, Julia Alvarez is a really good writer, and I really enjoy that she has a couple books for young adult.
Yep.
Especially this year, they tend to really like historical fiction, so it's nice to get those in there.
Yeah, I can't remember what the other one is that she has, but we have them, so that's neat. What was a book that you won that you were super happy about? If you could narrow it down to one.
That is a tough one. I would probably say A Song Below Water.
Okay. I don't know that one.
That one I was really excited about. Mermaid books are
I do know that one. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. So that one I was really excited to get because I just think it's a lovely story. And it's an interesting take on the mermaid genre because in general, mermaids are white, right? Or they're like these kind of like, right, they're sirens, right? They're luring you to their death. And then just so to see a different take on it with Black women as the star of it, I think was a really great twist on a narrative that we're so used to being told.
Did you read all of that one?
I think I have the last couple pages left because I think I gave it to a student. I was like reading it as we were giving them back and forth. But so yeah, I have the last little bit to go.
I do know what that one is, and I really want to read that. So, and I liked the cover. I thought it was really pretty too.
Yeah, the cover was great, right? And I know we shouldn't judge books by their cover, but I do.
Yeah, I do too.
It's just, especially nowadays, like where, there's so many resources for when you're making a cover. And so I am very much a person that's like, this cover's awesome. It has stars, it has this, it has all these things I'm interested in. So I know I'm going to like the story.
I know.
And sometimes that comes back to bite you, But.
Yeah, it definitely does. I don't think I have any books right here that do that, but when you have like a hardbound book and you take the jacket off and they've like done something extra or engraved it or made it special, it's like a special little secret surprise.
Yes, that is absolutely great. And it's one of the reasons why I do like hardcovers, but yeah, right, and then including maps in there, all those little things.
Just the little pieces that just make it something really special to hold and touch. And the end papers on this one are just super fun.
Yeah, that one's really gorgeous.
It is really gorgeous.
And that's why I also really liked about this Cruel Prince one is every chapter has like a little picture of just like flowers. And then when it breaks, if I can find it, right, so when there's like a pause in the story, it's got this little knife.
Oh,
Or
cool.
little sword.
Yep. I like that stuff too.
It's just like a nice added bonus. So.
Yeah, I agree. Madison. Oh, I was gonna have my kid go get. They reissued the Harry Potter books. I don't know if have you seen that with the like fold out papers?
Ooh, I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's Madison. Go get my Harry Potter book from upstairs, please. It's got illustrations, so it's not the coffee table book. It's just a novel, and they've got illustrations throughout, and they're gorgeous, and little details like you were just talking about. And then I think there's 8 or so bigger illustrations in the book that, here it is, that like fold out and do something. So this is what it looks like.
Cool. Oh, that's so pretty.
And it's got little people flying, but like, oops, okay.
Oh, cool.
So, and then the envelope will pop open, and you can read what his invitation to Hogwarts, and then just like a regular page that you're reading just has some illustrations on it. But it's so much fun.
So
it's like
nice.
It is. It's like a present. Here's the Fat Lady, and then
perfect.
her eyes move.
Oh, cool.
It is
awesome.
So much fun. It's on sale at Barnes & Noble.
Okay. I have to go and get that.
I'm hoping that they do all of the books. I don't know, or I haven't had time to look, but it's really fun and super special. And even though I have the books and I don't need this, I needed it.
Right? Yeah, no, absolutely. You needed it. We have a book like that. It's not Harry Potter related, but it is about wizards. And so, it's kind of the same idea where it's interactive. And so, like, you can turn the pages and...
Yeah, I think we have a dragon one that does something very similar. Yeah.
So always just, I don't know, just neat to see it. I love that it's interactive because I don't know, you want to put your hands on it, you want to like explore more. And,
it reminds me in like the 80s or the 90s, there was a book called The Jolly Postman, and he was traveling around to the little fairy tale, like the 3 little bears. And so there were letters that you could open. And I remember being a kid and thinking it was so special. And then recently there's a picture book about crayons.
Oh, the day the crayons quit?
Yes. So there's that one, and then there's a Christmas one, and it comes with each crayon is writing a note, and you can like, one of the nude crayon, the peach crayon, doesn't want to be nude anymore. He wants to be called Peach, and he has dress-up clothes, like paper.
Oh, that's so cute.
So I love all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. I know. It just makes it fun to like take a book and have to be able to do like more with it. So.
Yeah. I agree.
Always fun.
I agree. Do you have another bookshelf that you want to show off?
I do. It's not as exciting as this one. I keep all my books that I enjoy on that side. But this is my second one, right? So it's kind of, I have an ottoman set up between two different bookshelves.
So you have your
And
own
this
little
one-
reading nook.
Yes. And this one, tends to be a lot of pictures of Talon.
Yeah.
I can show you a picture of me and James going to prom.
Oh my gosh,
little-
how cute.
Little high school me.
Oh, I love it.
But yeah, this one I tend to have more of, like we have board games on the bottom. And so the books tend to be here because everything else is more like my tarot decks and things along those lines, which I also enjoy because they're like stories told through images, but it's also like a card. And I know everyone has different levels of comfort with that. So
Yeah.
I think they're awesome. So here's where we tend to have more of our like mythology books. So like a lot of Norse books, Greek mythology. These ones are really interesting. These were my mom's. So it's the Day of Pooh, the Day of Piglet and the Tao of Pooh Bear.
Oh, cool.
And so it's talking about how Winnie the Pooh teaches you aspects of like Confucianism, which I think is really neat.
Yeah.
And like they're great books. And I tried to listen to it as an audiobook, but the guy couldn't do a Winnie the Pooh voice. And I was like, no, I can't listen to it.
That's neat.
But yeah, those ones I really enjoy. Let's see. I don't know. I have so Erin Morgenstein is also one of my favorite authors. She wrote The Night Circus, which is hands down one of my favorite books. Because it's got a circus and there's kittens and it's all at night and it's just magic and it's great. And then so this is the second book that she's written.
Okay.
I haven't gotten into this one yet, but I'm really excited to start it.
Cool.
Yeah. And then I don't know, we have a bunch of Game of Thrones books because that's what James likes to read. He absolutely loves Game of Thrones. And then he likes to get into like the history of it. So this is all about I think Targaryen, her dad. So like the Targaryen bloodline. So it kind of goes back into like the history behind Game of Thrones.
That's cool.
Which for me is like far too much.
Oh, I bet. That looks huge. That would still be pretty neat. Does he like to read some of your books or not so much? He's just really into his own thing.
We don't tend to have the same taste when it comes to books. Okay. He tends to enjoy thrillers. We did both agree that Dean Koontz is a really good writer.
Yeah.
So he's kind of got like spooky thriller stories. But he also really enjoys like Lord of the Rings. And while I like Lord of the Rings, for me, it was like too much to have to go through like all those family trees. Like, I just want to get to the story. I just want to see the magic. And he's more about like seeing the like history and the family trees is like something he's totally into. So, and he won't read my young adult stuff. So,
my husband won't read it either. He's not into it, but that's okay. I have you to talk to.
Yeah, right.
I can't think of anything else.
I don't know. If I got any other books to share, though. No.
Have you put in for any contests right now that you're waiting to hear if you win?
I haven't found any recently. I think the last one I entered, you entered as well, the 500 book giveaway or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that was like, I don't know, Instagram I use for like two purposes, to like figure out school things and then to find like, I don't know, just things that I enjoy in general. Mm-hmm. And so the nice thing about following so many teachers, especially English teachers, is they're like, hey, here's a book giveaway. Hey, here's another book giveaway. And I'm like, oh, great, all the book giveaways. And then you like end up following all these teachers who have great ideas and help, like they share their love of books too. And so that also led me to follow a bunch of librarians. And see the things that they're doing. And so it's just really interesting to see, I don't know, just like share a love of books, you know?
Yeah, I do. I'm following a lot of librarians, and it's been really impactful, and um, maybe opening my mind to genres that I don't always like to, because I like to get stuck in different ones. So it's been great. Yeah, I like Instagram for that too.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just interesting to see, and then that kind of take those ideas and be able to put them into my own teaching, and especially like just talking about books, because I think a big part of the reason I didn't enjoy reading growing up is because no one taught me how to find a book that I like.
Mm-hmm.
I took like a reading workshop in middle school, and like now would be like a fantastic class because all you do is go and read, right? That was the whole point of the class.
Right.
But at middle school, when you don't like to read, like that class was really hard, and we always had to have a book. But like the lady never taught us how to find a book that we enjoyed and what to do if we didn't like a book. And I think there was so much missed opportunity in that class.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I just wish someone would have taken the time to be like, hey, like, let's learn how to find a book you like. So.
Yeah, I like that. And, that reminds me that someone sent an email and they said, why are you asking Mr. Leffler and Mr. Devine what books they hate? And something about how hate was a strong word, and it is. So I'll work on that. But my point was to kind of show people that even though these people love to read, they can still have books that they don't like, that don't connect to them or speak to them in any way.
Mhm.
And that's where I was going with that. And I probably could have done a better job. And then I was talking to one of our classes, and a kid was saying, well, I don't like reading. I hate it. And I said, have you ever thought that maybe you don't hate reading, you just haven't found the book that speaks to you? Or just because a book is published doesn't mean that it's a well-written book. Maybe you don't like that style for whatever reason. And so we kind of talked about that a little bit, but that's so funny that you said that, because that's been on my radar recently. I've been thinking a lot about that. So
yeah, no,
ideas.
and like I think a hard thing too for me was to like find out that I don't like books that are really popular. Because like they're popular, they're here, they're now, and everyone's like, oh, it's a great book, and then I start to read it, and I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't
like
understand the type around.
Yeah, like Twilight for you was not your thing.
Yeah, right, exactly. And like sometimes, like right, it's like okay, yeah, I see why everyone is talking about this. I can see why it's really popular, but for the most part, like I don't know, I have yet to find a genre that I don't really like, except for maybe I don't know, sci-fi is like hit or miss. Like if it's set in space and it's like it like right and it's got aliens, it makes sense. What I don't like about it is when it's like horror based and they're blaming it on aliens. Like I don't know why, but for me that like it feels like a cop out. Like don't do that. And historical fiction I think is one that took me a long time to learn to like. Because for that one, I got to find the right book for it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a good day and happy reading.
Yes. Happy reading and have a good long weekend.
Yeah.